trying to be fully prepared. Okay, we are now live for the discussion. I am just going to take a minute and send out the links because I don't know how, like, we can't, because we're doing a multi-stream, we have lost the ability to schedule our lives. And typically when we schedule it, there's already a link, whether it be on YouTube or in the Facebook group, there's a link that you can just go to that link and destination and then you're good. But now we can't pre-decide on a link of where the lives are going to end up at. We have to just go live at the time of the multi-stream. You know, everything. It's like you get one capability, you lose another. It could never be so simple. So let me see how quickly I can do this. Of course. All right, hold on one second. I'm going to mute myself for a second so you don't hear double. But if you're here, I would love to say hello, leave a comment so I can see you. I'm kind of looking down at my computer. My camera's up here, but I'm looking down at my computer screen. And this is meant to be an engagement. If you haven't already, go ahead and purchase the Women of Brewster Place syllabus. I have it on here on my iPad. If you are an insider, it is on your dashboard. Download it, use it. This is what we're going to be using to center our conversation. Bree did an amazing job on this syllabus. She really came through with a deep introspective discussion around one of Gloria Naylor's most popular works, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit. I still got to send out this newsletter, make sure everyone knows, because I promise you, if I don't send this newsletter out, folks are going to be like, sis, I didn't even know you were live. I didn't know where you were live at. And one of these days, I'll be able to hire enough staff that we can have someone who helps run the lives regardless of who is hosting the live. It's like a live operator. That's what we want. Okay, save. So we're going to do this together. Subject. Everybody say hello though, so so I know that you're in here. Somebody's talking about my tan. I live in North Carolina. I don't have to go out of state to get a tan. I hope there's nothing in my teeth. I'm smiling that hard and I have braces. All right, we have the YouTubers commenting. The Facebook people, I don't see them. So that means we gotta go to Facebook. Okay, yes. I see all the YouTube people. I'm like, where are the Facebook people? Okay, there goes. Whew. Okay, thank you, Dara. Y'all had me nervous. How many people have finished the Women of Brewster Place? I finished yesterday. How many people are just starting Women of Brewster Place? Actually, I would love to hear y'all. Have y'all comment and let me know where you're at. That's the question to ask. Where are you at in your reading of Women of Brewster Place? And let me go to the Facebook group and see where So I'm not live. I'm not live in the Facebook group. Did I not do it right? This shit's so ghetto. Yep. Yep. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna have to. Let me see if I can change it without stopping. Oh. Okay. Let me see if I can turn it on and turn. Ooh, please say that works. I knew I turned it. It's Mercury and micro braids right now, so I expected this to happen. Let's see. Because I was live in the group according to the dashboard, and I had 15 views from the group, and then all of a sudden it moved to the. See, look, this is the ghetto. Refresh. All right, here we go. Okay. All right. What do you mean? It looks. What do you mean? No, I scheduled it for 4 p.m. I hope I didn't do it. I don't think I did it incorrectly. Okay. All right. There we go. That was taking way longer than it needed to. Okay. We're on the Facebook. Hopefully there's no typos. I write like I talk, so there's always errors. And okay. Sorry about that. I knew this was gonna happen, so I'm okay with the fact that the beginning of this is me looking at my computer screen, trying to figure out why the live that I set up was not in the Facebook group, and now the Facebook people are here. I'm so happy. Unfortunately, everyone on my end shows up as Facebook user, so okay. Somehow Dara's name came through, which is odd. Okay. Oh no, it came through on YouTube. Girl. Okay, okay. So we're actually using a new system. We're using Ecamm because I like to come to you in HD so you can see the skincare routine. But then we use Restream, which allows us to stream to both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. Because what we realize, I understand for various reasons, people aren't keen on Facebook, which is totally understandable. And we never meant to like center the group on Facebook. It's just there wasn't another space where we could cultivate a group with notifications and people able to leave pictures and comments because we really wanted to be able to engage the community. Like this isn't just about the book that we're currently reading. It's about we wanted to engage the community and provide a safe space around a political education. So you guys are free to post your thoughts in the group. And there wasn't really another platform that allowed us to do that. So we use the website, and again, it's also hard to be a new website. We don't really have the the equity to build out the website where we can host our own community fully on the website. And this also takes a while to train people to keep checking the website and engage on a website. And Facebook is just, people are already on Facebook, so it's just easier to use. So between Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the newsletter, that's how we've been doing everything. But we've mostly been doing our live discussions in Facebook because YouTube just wasn't, we didn't have the means to stream to both. And now that we do, we're still losing some of the other operationals. And I'm thinking, like, how am I going to explain this to other cohort members so they can get on here and do this? Because it's a little bit more technical and it's a little bit more confusing. But whatever. Y'all came to talk about the book, not to talk about the operations of the book club. But all that to say, my homegirl Melissa had been texting me talking about I'm an insider and I would like to engage. So when are things not going to be on Facebook? So I was like, all right, let me figure this out. Let me take a few days, sip my green smoothie, and figure out how to get this stream going. All right, so first, I want to talk about, I have this copy of The Women of Brewster Place. So I want to talk about how I even read this book in the first place. I read this book, I want to say, so I was in AP English, I want to say my junior year of high school. And if you, some of you have a copy that will say Oprah's Book Club. And I had a, liberal white English teacher who was greatly swayed by the selection of books that Oprah was choosing for her book club. And the year that I took AP English, our reading list actually was updated to feature more Black authors because of Oprah's book club. And so one of the two Black authors that I distinctly remember being on that list amongst the Kurt Vonnegut's, because all the white boys in the class chose Fight Club and whatever else Kurt Vonnegut has written. I don't know. That shit. But it was Gloria Naylor and Toni Morrison. And because of the book club, my grandmother and mother also read. They neither of them were particularly people that were really into like the intellectual side of literature, but they did read, even if they didn't really discuss the books they read. Was kind of how my family read. So I had read Song of Solomon with my grandmother, and I remember my grandmother just being like, this book is so confusing. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to write an essay about Song of Solomon. And then we read it as a class project too, so I didn't want to do another project. We did pick two books by the same author, and I thought that Toni Morrison's writing was just a little bit more work than I wanted to take on, because I'm one of the people that works smart, not hard. So I wasn't really trying to, write an AP English paper about Toni Morrison and all her allegories. So I went with Gloria Naylor. Also, I grew up with Jehovah's Witness. Gloria Naylor grew up with Jehovah's Witness. And so I felt connected to her story. And I believe we actually read Women of Brewster Place as a class, because for my class project, I ended up doing Bailey's Cafe in Linden Hills by Gloria Naylor. And her writing all kind of connects together, similar fashion to like an Alice Walker, who like the Suge Avery character kind of appears in all of her literature. Like Linden Hills, because Kiswana is from Linden Hills. And I don't think anything from Bailey's Cafe directly gets mentioned, but a lot of similar themes are replicated in her other books. And actually, Woman of Brewster Place is probably my least favorite Gloria Naylor book. Bailey's Cafe is absolutely my favorite one. But let's just get into this discussion. So we are discussing chapters Etta Mae through Lucille, which are kind of like the 3rd through 6th chapter. They don't really have numbers. Every chapter is named after the characters discussing. Similar, well, Homegoing has a similar story structure to Women of Brewster Place, where you have each chapter is a character. The Homegoing felt a little bit more disjointed because it's like the next generation. And this is like the story of each person on the block of Brewster Place. And I know some people are just getting their book. Quite a few of us have finished the book. I finished the book on yesterday with the big what the fuck at the end. I was just kind of disappointed, unsatisfied, felt incomplete with the ending, but we're not going to spoil it because that's a discussion that Morgan is going to handle next week. And if you are wondering like how to keep a calendar of these live discussions, smartbrowngirl.com/events. We now have a calendar on the website. You can add calendar reminders for each individual event. We're trying to get it together so we can really engage our community and it not be centered on any one platform. And as always, please read the newsletter. All right, so let's get this started. Let's get into this discussion because we got to talk about the scandals, right? The scandals of Etta Mae, Kiswana, and Lucielia? How y'all pronounce her name? I read things and pronounce them all incorrectly because I ain't got nobody to talk to in person about them. Maybe I gotta go back and watch the TV series, which I don't think I've ever actually watched it. So when we get around to watching it with the group, I'm trying to dig through OWN TV and get the licensing rights and all this other stuff so we can watch it as a group. If we ever accomplish that, it'll be my first time watching the show. I also want to say, I'm pretty certain that Nikki Giovanni does not like Gloria Naylor. That they had like a little tiff taff because Gloria was on the board. Was I reading something by June Jordan, who was like Gloria was on the board for like an award selection and didn't choose Tony for the award? It was like a scandal in the 80s, you know? I think we tend to reimagine our elders as people that collectively got along. And it's like, no, people were always dragging each other. We didn't need Twitter to drag everyone, you know? Dragging was a thing pre-Twitter. So, yes, let's get into this. How many of you found this book to be an easy read? Were there any struggles? Were there anything, did anybody stop reading it because they were bored by it? You know, it's not that everyone has to always have a positive opinion with the book. We read Sula collectively, and we were collectively frustrated by Toni Morrison when we read Sula in February. So it's okay if you have frustration with the readings that we select. We would like to hear everyone's opinion, and it's not that every book we have, even if the chorus is that a lot of people like the book, you know, a lot of people liked Eloquent Rage, some people had a hard time with it. A lot of people liked his feminism. I don't know that anyone has vocally had any criticism of his feminism. Actually, that was our top selling syllabi as well. Okay, so Etta Mae Johnson's chapter. Etta Mae is a friend of Maddie, who we briefly hear about in Maddie's chapter, right? Maddie has Basil and y'all. If I can get all the names of the characters correct, shout out to me, because you know everything that I read. I'm reading like 5 books right now. And I'm like I stopped watching I May Destroy You because I was way too triggering for me right now. But like me and character names, and not my thing, right? I'm not good at it. All right, let's see what the folks are saying about reading it. It felt like a pretty easy read. Yes, I agree. Taylor loved it. Happy to hear. You know, I do think interestingly enough, Maddie's chapter makes it feel like the book is going to go in a certain direction. And if anything, Maddie's chapter might low-key feels like one of the most robust character developed chapters. And none of the other characters get as much reference and foundational build. What's the literary term for building up a character's background story? I don't think we get as much of a fleshed out background story for any of the other characters, except we come close with Kiswana, but everything's just kind of mentioned versus like I imagine this as a TV show, and so it'll be real interesting to watch the TV series with you guys. But like I felt like we went a lot further back with Maddie in ways that we didn't with the other characters, and even though I read this in 11th grade, I remembered very little of it. And so I thought that maybe there would be another character who kind of got that same development, and it didn't happen. Um, Denisha is saying she feels like Maddie definitely got a lot of airtime. And it'll be interesting to watch the TV show and compare literary development to the TV development. Okay. So Etta Mae Johnson's character, again, was briefly mentioned when Maddie was with Basil. And was it implied what city they came to? Maddie got off the train and Etta stayed with her for like a month and then was like, girl, I'm on to the next city. I'm on to New York. And Maddie is kind of, Etta is explained in this sort of, I want to say, 1940s, 1930s maybe. What era was Billie Holiday in? Like the Billie Holiday, and again, Homegoing, right? What character? Man, I can't remember no character names. I just read the book. There was a whole character that from the South went to New York City. Her husband left her to pass as a white man, and she was supposed to be a blues singer, but she wanted to be a singer in like the cabaret scene. And then we get that really triggering sexual assault scene, rape scene, right? In Homegoing. Why can't I remember any of the character names? See, we are horrible at this. Oh. So we get to, I think that Etta is written in a very similar I think Etta's character arc is just a similar trope that comes not even just out of this era of Black literature, right? Because this book was written in '83, and so I feel like she took a very similar approach that you get with like the Toni Morrison books, where like the endings are kind of like, wow, I want to imply there's a lot of loose ends, but there's a lot of heavy motifs throughout the book. You're not necessarily reading to get like a concrete story of an individual, but you are more so getting commentary on community and identity and lived experiences of working class poor Black folk. Um, but this very similar theme of like the Suge Avery, the character from Homegoing, the Billie Holiday, even who the woman everyone always telling me I look like? Phyllis Hyman? Am I making sense here? All right. So per the syllabus, what songs, albums were the soundtrack to your romantic relationships? And what songs do you always find yourself returning to? Because there was a theme of music throughout Etta's chapter, and kind of how she put like she had this great ability to like, or this great imagination, right? To kind of see further than the possibilities would actually allow her. And the writing of Etta always did feel as though there was always like a soundtrack in her mind to everything happening, right? So like the Reverend, who definitely felt like, I thought Players Club Bernie Mac, everyone was posting their gifts. Who were y'all talking about? Lonnie from I'm watching TV like that. But a bunch of folks posted gifts in the Facebook group about who the Reverend, who she ended up hooking up with, reminded them of. And that scene just like, I felt Etta's chapter like I always knew where it was going, because it just felt like such a similar story arc that I have read or seen very often portrayed, of like this sort of salacious Black woman from the 1940s who reached for the stars but ended up back on Earth, and everything just didn't kind of work out the way it worked out. Taylor saying that felt like it was a Toni Morrison-esque in a good way. My copy also had a quote comparing her to Toni Morrison. Oh, who was the quote from? Does my copy have I think my copy's from like the 1990s. I'm pretty sure this is the copy that my grandma got because it was because of Oprah, because it says property with my grandma's name in the beginning. May she rest in peace. Meet the Women of Brewster Place. And the book starts off with A Dream Deferred. Okay. What are the differences between Maddie and Etta, and what are their similarities? Oh yes, folks are reminding me the character now. So there's like a delay. So I'm gonna be talking about things and then keep going back because I'm trying to move ahead. That's not shade. But Willie is a character from Homegoing. Thank y'all. Dara is saying she thinks that Maddie gets a lot of time because her story also sets up the background for Brewster Place as a space. It does, but then sometimes I feel like it sets up that one home, right? And I get how Maddie's story connects to everyone, but if I was to critique the book, I do feel like, particular to Lorraine's story, that a little bit more background in the similar fashion that we got from Maddie would have been very helpful. Lorraine's story, and I'm looking at it from a 2020 lens, right? So we have much more expansive language around queer identity, but I just wish there was something. It just felt like we get so close, right? And especially for a book written in the 1980s, and you're still like, Dad, I just want to know a little more. I want a little more. Oh, okay. It's a Claude Brown quote. Thank you for that. I think between Maddie and Etta, what I appreciate, and this gets developed later in the book, so I'm not trying to give spoilers, right? But I one of the themes that I think reoccurs, especially because Naylor, Morrison, Walker come out of, and Walker coined the term womanist, and you're coming out of an era of Black feminism, womanism that is really, Ntozake Shange, like that's really robustly, well, I don't want to say that it's like there's all these writers, right? Because the space that Black women exist in is always very narrow. But it is coming out of this canon of like, understanding the politics that, or a beginning of understanding of the politics that Black women exist in, and this call to action that our lived experiences, and this connects back to like Black feminist thought and the work of Dr. Collins, who is going to be joining the book club. So please read Black feminist thought. But the validity of our lived experiences, as a part of the intellect that the Black community holds, and that our stories not only are valid, but that they mean something to how we shape our futures and how we push policies. And so I think with that, there's this common theme word to like bell hooks about the value of woman-to-woman relationships, about this, I just read the loving ethic chapter, right? And the women of Brewster Place do not have the loving ethic, but that question definitely comes up about the way that Black women love other Black women, that the way that we are connected, right? Because I think that Maddie and Etta could be very critical of each other because they seem to know each other in a very intimate way, in a way that really highlights their differences, with Maddie being like your quintessential elder Black woman who put her life into her child, niggas ain't shit, Basil ain't either, and she's really wrapped up in the church. But she has this humility and this kindness and this open-mindedness that she gives to other members of the community of Brewster Place. And Etta seems to have that aura, but Etta's like, I'm gonna mind my business too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna stay out of trouble because I can get in trouble on my own. I don't need to get in y'all trouble, and I'm gonna be over here. Shanae Hardy is saying, Maddie is conservative, while Etta seems to be a more free-spirited, and both find solace in their friendship when their relationships with men fall apart. I think this is very fair, right? Gloria Naylor was writing for a white editor at the time, and who knows? Who knows? She's not here for us to bring her into the book club and talk about it. Tiffany is saying, Maddie doesn't seem to want to explore herself. She seems more consumed with others. Etta, I don't know. Because I don't think this is a thing of like where either character is written that we can't Molly and Issa this one. You know what I mean? I actually think that what Maddie and Etta do well as characters is show that there is no right way for Black women to live. Because they both did things according to their differing ideologies, but that said if you stuck with it, and if you just take the risk, you can succeed. If you just put your head down and commit to this one thing, you should succeed. And it's like, the problem is society isn't built for us to succeed. And so it's like they took these two very diverging paths and ended up right in the same space with each other. And, for as much as they can say things that are really hurtful to each other because they know each other so well, they have a really deep love, and a love, compassion, care, respect, commitment to growth, love for each other, that it always comes back around. I actually think their friendship is quite beautiful. And I do like the way their friendship pops up in other characters' chapters. In describing her teenage years, Etta is deemed a constant trouble. What images does this bring to mind? Conversely, because her character was illustrated as being a very obedient child, a very dutiful and respectful child, and yet she's the one that got pregnant and had to skip town. What cues and behaviors were you taught growing up, and how does your neighborhood or a town influence what behaviors were deemed acceptable? And the quote that the syllabus pulls, I don't know what version of the book Bree had, but she's talking about page 59. Let's see where that lands me. It might be right. Okay. You know, when I read this book, I highlighted all the references to color. There were a lot of colors of red and browns and grays, reds and browns and grays. A lot of notes about the coloring of things. Um, yeah, but I do think it's on page 59. Rockville had no place for a black woman who was not only unwilling to play by the rules, but whose spirit challenged the very right of the game to exist. How do these details about Etta relate to conversations about patriarchy and sexism? And how does being a black woman add nuance to the rules and the game for Etta? And I think that's an interesting question, right? Because when we get to the Reverend, who really just stuck out for me because I felt like that was a really comical character in itself, relating him back to all the other media images that I can think of that he reminded me of, is that why was this Reverend able to have some sort of success and reverence in his community in a way that seemed to escape Etta when they both were doing the same thing, up to the same thing, about the same thing. Reacher's saying, I love the friendship that Maddie and Etta have. They keep it real with each other when they need each other, even if they don't agree on their lifestyle choices. Yes. The scene where they're at, where they're going to the church and they're getting dressed, and there's this kind of huff and puff back and forth. The scene where they go to church and Etta meets the Reverend, you know, it comes up, you know, their differences and how they each view can get on each other's nerves, but how they also sort of have this cadence with each other that they know how to, you know, their relationship feels very rhythmic. There's nothing wrong with centering yourself. Etta lived her life, whatever that meant for her, and Maddie kind of lived through others. Her story revolves around others a lot. I don't know who Maddie is. Well, and you know, I think maybe there's a little room to challenge that, right? Like, it's like for me, is the idea that I'm someone who definitely lives the life as much as I can that I choose to live. And y'all know I don't fall for that. You choose happiness shit. But I am a person that will push boundaries because I reach for the things I want to reach for. But am I to say that because I might do that in a way that's a little bit more outward facing, is someone who's like a stay at home mom, is she not doing the same thing? I think because we got this really fully fleshed this fully fleshed out story with Maddie, and knowing how it ended with Basil, like we do kind of get an ending for Maddie in ways that we don't really get for the other characters. That maybe that's why it's easier to say, okay, she really is a person that centers herself through others, because then she pops up in Lucilia's chapter, she comes back up in Lorraine's chapter, and she does seem to be the matriarch of Brewster Place. But that might be her living for herself, is that she likes caring for others. I don't know. Anyway, I actually don't think either what you're saying is negative. I don't think either of them. The difference between Etta and the Rev is that people can care more about appearance and how your life makes them feel about themselves than about what you're really doing. Was Etta another Sula? You know, was she motivating the people of Brewster Place to prove that they are not like her, and so they want to better themselves? You know, in the same way that Sula, living her truth, made her neighborhood uncomfortable. This is, you know, the similarities of the story arc. You know, I don't know. Did Etta's chapter didn't necessarily make me think about my background, and part of the reason why I wanted to do this live discussion is because one of the chapters did make me think about my background. At some point, we're gonna progress to that chapter. But I don't know. I grew up in Delaware. How much did this chapter make me think about, you know, patriarchy and sexism. I definitely made me think about patriarchy and sexism because I think for both Maddie and Etta, but very much so for Etta, her ability to not succeed in the way that she wanted to succeed or be able to craft the life that she envisioned for herself, you know, with a good deal of racism, patriarchy, and sexism. And it does strike you is why couldn't someone like her at least, you know, maybe she didn't have to be a superstar, but why couldn't she find a way to sustain that lifestyle? Why was it constantly kept out of her reach? How did Naylor's inclusion of song lyrics in this section impact your reading? Did you enjoy the lyrics that were included? And did they fit the story being told, right? God bless the child. That's why I kept thinking of Billie Holiday, right? She kept referencing one of Billie Holiday's very popular songs. Mm. Yes. Etta goes to church in search for a partner. Where do you see this trope present in other text media? I mean, low key, Etta's chapter could fit very succinctly into a Tyler Perry film. I think Gloria Naylor handles Etta way better than I would ever expect Tyler. He would have gave her a real bad wig, some huge church hats, and she definitely would have had kids in the Tyler Perry movie. But I do think that particularly Etta's chapter strikes me as one of the tropes that I have seen played out across media, including her interactions with Reverend Woods. I enjoyed the lyrics when I knew what song it was from. Yes. Thank you, Shanae. Oh, didn't everybody have Sophie bother? And does I'm assuming that's Oprah because Oprah loves to play an old hag. Did Oprah play Sophie in the TV series, which I have not seen yet? Uh, Etta just, and I think I love that Etta minded her business and still seemed to, you know, get under people's skin without even having to do anything. Yes. So the last question I'm gonna ask is, with both Etta and Maddie ending up in the same place, even though Etta is portrayed as a rebellious spirit and Maddie is depicted as a caring mother, is there a point that Naylor is trying to make? And I think I might have already addressed where I feel like that point lands. Etta and Maddie had taken totally different roads that, with all the deceptive winding, had both ended up on Brewster Place. What song is this that she's quoting? Because this is a hymnal, right? Go to Egypt, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Is that like a slave song? I ain't grew up in no black church. We grew up in the witness, talking about life without end at last. So I don't really, you know, I dated me a little southern nigga and his family play in the church, and I heard that I got like a brief 6 month catch up on all the black church songs. But other than that, I really don't be knowing. You know, some of the lyrics I was thinking, are these songs or are these originals? Are these songs that Etta might have sang or are they popular songs? Go Down Moses. Okay. There's probably a Mahalia Jackson version somewhere, so I will look it up. It's over. All right, I spent 40 minutes talking about Etta Mae. Let us move on. Oh, somebody was like, no. Okay, that's true, because Sophie ain't really getting no screen time. You're right. Etta, uh, Oprah plays the person with the most screen time who would absolutely be Maddie. Okay, thank y'all for correcting me. I definitely think this gets highlighted in Lorraine's chapter. suggesting that, black women, but this is a theme that pops up in a lot of black feminist texts about, for as much as black men disappoint us, pass their trauma onto us, do us wrong, black women and the intimate partnerships, non-sexual, the friendships that we can cultivate, the love that we cultivate kind of does supersede what would be a platonic friendship and really fills in for a lot of us the ways which black men have just not, they're not emotionally mature enough to be all that. Dara is saying she hadn't thought about the fact that these spiritual songs end up in Etta's chapter, a character who's portrayed as lacking morality. That is a really good thing, good point, right? Like, I hadn't, like, what does it mean that we get the most church references? Like, we don't even realize that Maddie is disinvested in the church until we get to Etta's chapter, right? That a lot of this commentary on church and black women ends up in Etta's chapter is interesting. I had not thought about that. Yes, Dash. I wholeheartedly get you a good black woman friend. Get you one. It'll change your life. Okay. Kiswana Brown. Now, when I read this book in the 11th grade, this was the chapter that had the most influence on me. Because I remember being, I don't want to be no Kiswana. A bitch ain't trying to move to the hood and tell these niggas how to live when it's not where I'm from. Right? And I thought it was funny that Kiswana felt like she was doing a lot of performative. Is it pandering? Is it overcompensating? Is it, how would you classify a Kiswana? And her moving from Linden Hills. Oh man, and if you go and then read Linden Hills and the whole commentary on the black middle class and the pursuit of like Protestant ideals, which is like a running theme in the black community. I remember being in high school reading Women of Brewster Place and being like, I like Kiswana and I see a lot of myself in Kiswana, and that's scary because that is not the person that I want to be. That is not the person, because I think it seems like she is altruistic, but in a way that massages her own ego, and that she's missing, not that she's a bad person, and not that she is, doing something harmful, but how much of what she does is for the greater good of the community versus for her own, sense of self. Alana is saying, I was really interested in the men in the book, so I ordered a used copy of the Men of Brewster Place, even though everyone drags it and it's out of print. She wrote these men as full deep. I mean, so I'm not surprised, and okay, I'm looking at myself in reverse. Yeah, so the era in which Gloria Naylor as a writer comes from, does Alice Walker like men? You know what I mean? Like, have y'all read The Color Purple? Have y'all read A Temple of My Familiar? We're actually going to read Alice Walker in September. I'm getting ahead of myself, tell y'all too much. But, does Toni Morrison write these niggas as quality people? I mean, it's kind of, if the hypergamy movement wants to say, don't be like your ancestors, they and Dusties, I guess all these black women literaries wrong for writing all these niggas as Dusty. Woo! Y'all really tried it. Really, Jolie? Kiswana definitely. Kiswana not lying about being black. Okay, Kiswana, if anything, she definitely is like the man, the colorism conversation definitely comes to mind. The like Northern California niggas that date black adjacent women. I don't know if she's showing because she got two black parents, but maybe because Kiswana misses out on connecting to her culture within her younger years, she felt like she had to play catch up. I mean, but this the thing with Kiswana is like, why do you feel like having a middle class upbringing isn't part of the culture, right? Why do you have this very monolithic output or outlook on the black community, right? Why do you believe that being your blackness is tied to struggle and it's not much more rich and colorful in other ways? Like her whole leaving college and only taking like revolutionary style classes. Like, okay, sis. That's how you know that a certain class of black folks have aligned themselves so deeply with whiteness because performing blackness has to be done in a particular kind of environment. Brittany, that would be called a read. That would be called the world. I definitely think that this is something that's discussed in Bell Hooks, Black Looks in Media Representation. I've been reading a lot of Black Bell Hooks this year. Ooh, I read that differently, right? That a white man's nigger. Okay, and also I'm rereading because I just read Woman of Brewster Place last week, right? But I've also read Linden Hills, and Linden Hills talks about the sort of setup of the community and the hierarchy that exists in that black middle class community. So I just thought it was implied that her mother was light skinned and maybe her mom was like a quadroon or mixed race, but that both her parents are black. I felt like Kiswana had a very limited understanding about what revolutionary is and or radical politics are, but also reminded me a lot of the staunchness that people have when they are newly woke. Thank you, Denisha. Yeah, I actually really enjoy her character because I think it's a good cautionary tale. But it also endears people, or at least endeared me, to still wanting to do the work for a community that I might not directly be a part of. But just understanding that it takes a lot more than hanging a banner and reading Karl Marx and saying, okay, we're revolutionary and everyone should come be a communist, right? That it takes a lot more labor and care and concern than what Kiswana displayed. But I still appreciated, seeing and reading her story because it gives language and it gives context. And it's always good to be seen, and to work it out. Yeah, someone said Kiswana should have read her feminism. Yeah, Nikki Kendall should have put her on. I feel like Toni Morrison gave her men a slightly, that's a real small slight, redemptive backstory. I'm thinking about Pecola's dad in The Bluest Eyes. Naylor gave her men no grace. Alice Walker, well, we know she's invested in the drag of black men. I mean, but think about it. What about Ntozake, right? Like, in For Color Girls Who Consider Suicide, When the Rainbow Is Enough. Are the men redeeming characters in that book? I just think it's written, it's kind of, Gloria Naylor's take is within, and this obviously must have been their lived experience. Okay. How does Naylor give Kiswana her own voice after the first two chapters about Maddie and Etta? What details make her description stand out to you? Also, did you realize that Kiswana's mother was the first visitor to Brewster Place? And what is her reaction to the building? What issues are underlying in Kiswana's relationship with her mother? And are you surprised that Kiswana changed her name from Melanie? And what does that signify? Do you remember your first independent space? And was it your own apartment or in a room away from home? And what did this mean to you? I actually thought that Kiswana's scene with her mother was a very powerful and very telling scene, and probably one of my favorite scenes from the book. I think most of the interactions between Maddie and Etta I love, but that whole sort of like that wanting to distinguish yourself from your mother, but still want to have the approval of your mother, is an experience that a lot of black girls, well, a lot of women, I don't need to, racialize it, but that a lot of us have, right? Like, I am, oh, in Lemonade, you are nothing like your mother. You are everything like your mother. You know, those words written by Warsan Shire. I think this constant um, trope of the young black girl wanting to embody the strengths of her mother, but eschew what she sees as the weaknesses of her mother, but then realizing that all her mother was doing was trying to survive, and in her own pursuit of survival, she embodies those same sort of weaknesses that she once turned her nose up at before. Making a point. What are your thoughts? I think Kiswana meant well and could see her mature in the future, but she definitely tried to lead instead of letting the community lead. And she burnt out real quick. Joy Lee is saying that Kiswana tried. All her effort hit everyone displaced in the end. She could go back to Linden Hills, but what about everyone else she was fighting for? Is it implied that she goes back to Linden Hills? I know she goes back to school. She got that fine ass boyfriend. Was Abu written as a demon in Men of Brewster Place? Oh, Cora Lee's chapter was something else. Let me tell you. We ain't discussing that today. Girl. Wait, are we discussing that today? No, I'm only going to Lucielia. Oh, man. That whole interaction, I when Morgan does that discussion next week, I'm definitely going to have all ears tuned in to y'all how y'all took what the meaning of Corley's attachment to babies and birthing. I had a friend who was like that. She only has one child now as adults. Oh Lord, but what woman can go through childbirth so repetitively? Like, what is going on with your pelvic wall, sis? That is something else. Jesus. Um, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Facebook trying to see whose name this is because it only pops up as Facebook user. So I apologize because I'm so far behind in the comments. Y'all, I'm loving this engagement. I'm loving this. Thank y'all so much. Get the syllabus because that's what we're using. I found it interesting that her mother told her that her name is from her Iroquois great grandmother. It was ironic that Kiswana chose that name to connect with her. And you know what? I love that, right? Because I think we're coming back around in 2020, right? Because the Pan African movement, there's a long history, right? Don't allow them people on YouTube that make you think that like Pan African and this connection back to Africa is like a recent thing, right? Du Bois in the 1910s, right? Marcus Garvey was in what year? There has been this. I was reading Krauss last night. Don't ask why at 1 o'clock in the morning I decided to read about the Black intellectuals. But he was talking about the era of Pan Africanism and how it connects back to the 1830s and how Black intellectuals like to lie to us and other folks just to collect the bag. But that's not the point. What we're trying to say here is that I think there was an iteration of the Pan African movement in the 60s and 70s that the sort of what we would now call Hotep sort of rhetoric comes out of, like this. We has to be super like African in like the syllabic way, right? That you have to have an Ashanti name or you have to have a Swahili name, and it in that sort of, what is the word for it, idolization of cultures without having a real connection, personal connection to the culture, actually does a disservice to the own culture that you inhabit, right? That's even, and I think I go back to Homegoing, right? A character's name that I do remember, Ness, right? Ness was very much so one of the more connected characters to Africa. Ness's mother was from Ghana, right? And her name was, I want to say amalgamized. Her name was, simplified down to Ness as a child, but it was the actual name was connected to what her mother called her based on a see now I'm not remembering detail. I'm remembering character names, but not details, right? What ethnic group was her mother? Fanti, right? And so you might think, oh, Ness just sounds like Vanessa, and that's just an American name, and it has no meaning. In the same way that Kiswana never really dug into the history of Melanie and why that would carry its own heritage within the cultural history of her family, and instead reached across an ocean back to a culture that she really hasn't invested herself in to pull a name from. And how a lot of us might do that, and we're really trying to make up for a lacking within ourselves, but a name is not going to make up for that. And oftentimes we might be losing a part of ourselves that carries much more meaning than something that's so shallow. Although Kiswana came off as an overcompensating or doing too much, sometimes people like that are needed. I don't think anyone would have gotten through to Cora and then babies with Kiswana. You know what? But I think what Gloria does in her development of Kiswana is still show a level of humility, right? Because one thing Kiswana is not is proud. She doesn't necessarily strike me as an egotistical character. And so while she might come in and be like one of those, newly woke people and overzealous in her approach, she definitely still has good intentions in the way she goes about things. And I think she quickly, that's really highlighted in that scene with Cora Lee. And we are skipping ahead because that ain't even in Kiswana's chapter. But her interaction with Cora Lee is so significant because it showed her ability to read the room, to double back. She didn't have to, she could have done too much. And I'm now into such a fun age, and Alex is doing too damn much, right? Ooh, that book is so shady. But we're reading too many books at once, so everything's just running together. But Kiswana seems to have a sort of humility that does allow her to adapt aptly to Coraline. I do think someone could have better handled that situation as Kiswana, but it was a very realistic and endearing scene. So I feel you on that. I changed my first name because none of y'all call me Jasmine, but I love my name. So, but when I was a child, I wanted to change my name. But that was more or less not because I disliked my name, but because I just wanted to have power over my identity. Right? Like my desire to change my name wasn't because I thought my name was too American or, didn't have enough meaning. Because my parents did have a reason for why they named me what they named me. But I wanted to just have autonomy. And I think Kiswana in some way is also searching for autonomy. I think this is Alana who's saying this. Kiswana's name change reminds me of Ibram X. Kendi and his essay on why. Oh, that nigga changed his name. Do he got a white line? No, I don't think he did. I'm currently reading Kendi as well. Maybe. I mean, I can't knock a name change, right? Bell Hooks was Gloria Watkins. A lot of Toni Morrison is her name Tiffany? What's Toni Morrison's real first name? It's like a real Toni Morrison actually has a real Chelsea, real American white girl name. I have my whole laptop here in front of me. A Chloe, yes. She doesn't strike me as a Chloe, but the era in which Kiswana springs from, a lot of people change their names. And, it's not as prevalent nowadays for people to change their names, and it does come across a lot more performative in this current era for people to change their names, but it feels like the era in which Kiswana comes from, it's a lot more common, and maybe not as performative as we might read into it. I don't don't think there'd be too many episodes in This Is Us, and I'm already depressed. Do I need to depress myself more? It'd be like 25 episodes in one season. And I think I stopped like mid last year, and somehow I'm like 40 episodes behind. So I ain't even got to the scenes with Felicia Rashad playing Beth's mama on This Is Us. But I really appreciated that sort of tug of war between Kiswana and her mother, right? This desire to have your mother's approval, the mother's judgment of Kiswana's choices, but also this real deep love for her child, right? She truly cares about that child and wanting to see the best for her. And even her willingness to come to where Kiswana is and sit down and be in that drafty ass apartment with her and then leave that $75 behind, and her unwillingness to let Kiswana pay her back, right? Because she's never going to let Kiswana fail. And that's a privilege, and it's for as much judgment as she can pass on her daughter. I think it also, like the whole toenail polish thing, they also share a lot of similarities, and it does seem like they might, in their own ways, learn from each other. So it's not necessarily a toxic relationship, but it felt like a very realistic and also a very meaningful relationship between these two women. I do believe that names are powerful. I love that her mom reminded her that the meaning does not have to be centered around white people's society, but to her direct origin family. Yes, I love that as well. Okay, well, thank you. One of the questions in the syllabus, thank you for downloading and purchasing the syllabus. And let's pull that question up. If Kiswana still has access to her family's wealth, and you're saying yes, even if she wants to separate herself from her family, that $75 in 1980 $75 is a lot of money. Her mother gave her shows us that she has a safety net. Let's pull that question up. Kiswana's mother says, Melanie, you are not poor, darling. You are not poor. What does she mean here? In what ways does Kiswana still have access to her family's wealth? And what larger conversation is Naylor referencing in the conversation between Kiswana and her mother? Yeah. Also, we need to discuss Kiswana's brother, because I didn't really have a clear. I would like to hear y'all's thought on what the brother and what was said. He said what that meant, and his character even being brought up in the book. What does that mean? Kiswana's name change also reminds me of how society could be so disconnected from recent history as long as if long stretches of time are needed to legitimize our history and make it valuable. And I think that's a constant, theme in the African American culture, right? That oftentimes the way maybe outsiders try to other us or demean our culture, and then the ways we ourselves might believe that we don't actually have a culture because it's too new and it's not as old as other cultures. And it's like length of time, right, does not legitimize a culture. I even think that symbolized her wealth. It symbolized, and yeah, because Kiswana has the one apartment that you can see over the wall. And her mother noted that view of Linden Hills from the apartment. Okay. So the brother, the way he's described, Kiswana recalls, Kiswana still resented the stance her brother had taken in college. When everyone at school was discovering their blackness and protesting on campus, Wilson never took part. He had even refused to wear an afro. This had outraged Kiswana because, unlike her, he was dark-skinned and had the type of hair that was thick and kinky enough for a good fro. Why do you think Kiswana recalls this moment? Do you think that Kiswana resents her brother for being the darker-skinned sibling and not being invested in Black power? And how does she connect politics to skin tone? What is the disadvantage of this connection? Same. But I don't know if it's fair, right? Because we only get told of Kiswana's brother. We never even get a name. He doesn't seem like well, the son of the dean wasn't necessarily a bad character. He was just very egotistical and very much so like, I'm going to play into these vestiges of white power to my benefit. I'm going to invest in these systems that harm my community because they benefit me. Kiswana's brother just seems, I don't really know what he seems like because we only get him from the vantage point of Kiswana, who seems to want to hold on to a really surface level commitment to like this radical politics, this radical black liberation. So I don't know. Yes, Denisha. She was caught up in the aesthetics of blackness. And I think for her, because she doesn't have access to it, but like, I never really had a fascination as a child that I wanted to be darker skinned. I don't know that. Well, I don't necessarily. I present as a nigga, so like I haven't had these same. I ain't got no baby hairs. I just got the lack of melanin, and so I think my being caught up in the aesthetics of blackness was like, well, I still got black ass features, so there's that. But constantly meeting, it's interesting, and I guess this is just it's a short novel, right? So how much more could Kiswana be developed? But it would be interesting, right? Is she also, in my mind, the way she was described is also someone like in the sense of like the YouTube scene, right? Like the girls with the silky hair textures and the light skin and the light eyes, who definitely use their light skin pretty privilege to their advantage, but then want to, um, when it's convenient, when it furthers their agenda, furthers their bank account, furthers their ability to grab the bag, they get very much so caught in proving their blackness through aesthetics. Am I making sense? That's kind of what I thought of with Kiswana. Let's see. There's going to be a little delay, so these comments might come through a little bit late because I want to move on to Lucielia. We are going way over an hour, but it's okay. I spent the first 10 minutes trying to figure this ish out. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I hope y'all are enjoying this YouTube, Facebook stream. Let me know if this is working out for y'all. This is better than us just doing it on Facebook. Okay, Lucielia Louise Turner. So Lucielia was the young child who was Miss Ava, Mrs. Ava's granddaughter. Um, yes. So Lucielia, this chapter, this is definitely a trigger warning because this was one of the more traumatic. Not, I'm not. I don't need to stack the trauma against each other, but it's all the L names: Lucielia, Lorraine. It's definitely like, damn, I wasn't ready. This was a lot. It was a sad chapter, and her story does come back around in the ending. And y'all can talk about that with Morgan. But where the chapter lands within her title chapter is very like, damn, these niggas ain't shit. And in a deep way. And we start this section off between a conversation with Ben and Eugene. How does this conversation frame the remainder of the chapter? So we start off with, what is it, a funeral? And Eugene, who is the father of Lucelia's children, is talking with Ben about why he's not going to the funeral. And oh man, a lot of Women of Brewster plays, I feel like my lens of how I read this book, I think it was more enjoyable. I got through it much quicker. because I've read chapter 12 of Black Feminist Thought, which is our current complex theory track read, and I've started on our next complex theory track read, which is all about love, which will drag all y'all edges. But so many themes that Bell Hooks discusses and all about love come up in these interpersonal relationships between the women of Brewster Place and their men and parents. And so this chapter was just so, Eugene definitely, like all the men on Brewster Place, have been subsumed by that little inkling of power that they get via patriarchy that can only be displayed through their intimate interactions with women. And it definitely colors the way you read about his character when we finally get introduced to his relationship with Lucielia. Like, I feel like the punch lands so much harder because you already know where the story ends at the beginning, right? And this is Lucilia's story arc isn't linear in the same way that other character story arcs are linear. We kind of, Maddie starts at we kind of start and then we go back first. And everyone kind of hints to a back. But like we meet Lucielia as a child, and then we jump to her being an adult, but an adult at her darkest moment. And where a man who she has loved and attempted to love out of his trauma is choosing his trauma over her, right? He's choosing defeat over the woman who saw the best in him. And I feel like this chapter is just deeply, deeply triggering because I think plenty of us Black women have experienced attempting to see the best in someone who is unwilling because of their own ego to see the best in themselves, to see the capabilities of being a better person in themselves, to see the capabilities of the transformation of a loving ethic. I'm going to be telling everyone to have a loving ethic now that I've read that chapter. And so it feels so damning, right? That he makes all these assumptions. He's like, Ben doesn't have any, in any conversation that Ben has in this book, he doesn't have any ambition. He doesn't have any thoughts about the future. He's a drunk and he drinks to hold on to his past. He doesn't want his past memories to slip away from him. And so Ben is kind of like, okay, yeah, that's what you're gonna do. Yeah, bro. Okay, good. Okay, sure. Yeah, makes sense, bro. Yep, yep. Mm-hmm. Like that's where we kind of get, oh man, Eugene is it's like, damn, nigga, like trying to pick a fight with Lucielia, and like the way she maneuvers. And I think this chapter is really beautifully written, right? Because it's not written through a lot of dialogue. My literary terms, y'all can fill in. Y'all can be the smart ones for me today. But it is a lot of, I want to say, expose. A lot of, we kind of get the inner workings of Lucielia pantomiming through this relationship and just trying to hold on to these very thin threads of semblance of what she thought could be a better life and a better relationship and trying to build a home. Word to Morsan Shire. I tried to make a home out of you. But doors lead to trap door. Yeah, how many times have I listened to Lemonade? Don't ask. Ooh. In the syllabus, Bree asked us, does Maddie use Lucielia as a placeholder for Basil? How does Lucielia and Maddie's relationship compare to Miss Ava and Maddie's relationship? How are the two relationships different? Oh, yes, this is a really good point, but it reminded me of the video between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin when she said, you fake with the white man all day, why not fake with me, or something like that. And I think what Nikki was actually saying is, why can't I get the best of you? Why is the worst of you the real of you? Why can't part of your real be your best? Why can't I get them good times and that happy face and that just putting on because you need to put on and make everything feel good for that moment? Why do I gotta take your trauma? Mm. But the question about Lucielia and Mae's relationship in comparison to Miss Ava's, and that is a really good question because I had it in my initial reading, thought about the comparison of the relationships. But it is like there's these constant themes of women coming in and taking care of each other and the ways that the men just so doggedly fail to care for the women that they have access to, right? That Ava came in and was essentially saved Maddie, right? Saved Maddie cold off the street. And then Maddie comes back to Seal and saves Seal from dying, right? We get this really intense scene where Seal is just giving up on life, right? Her child has, and she was getting ready to actually repeat the same pathway that Maddie had with Basil, that her daughter was going to be her everything. And another question asked in the syllabus pulls out from the quote where Naylor writes, Seal was trying to remember exactly when it had started to go wrong again. And what signs does Lucielia outline when describing the decline in her relationship with Eugene? And when we think about all these things that she's talking about, let me actually see if I can pull up. Did I highlight anything from this page? If you go, it's right around page 90, well, depending on what copy you have. But for me, it's 92. You pray silently, very silently, behind veiled eyes that the man will stay. Yeah, it's on page 92, and I did highlight that quote back in 2001. Seal was trying to remember exactly when it had started to all go wrong. Her mind sought for the slender threads of a clue that could trace back to perhaps something she had said or done. Her brow was set tightly in concentration as she folded towels and smoothed the wrinkles over and over, as if the answer lay concealed in the stubborn creases of the terry cloth. The months since Eugene's return began to tick off slowly before her, and she examined each one to pinpoint when the nagging whispers of trouble had begun in her brain. The friction of the towels increased when she came to the month that she had gotten pregnant again. But it couldn't be that. Things were different now. Mm. But, you know, when not Seal, when Serena has that very tragic death, and like it's encapsulated because Seal's trying to save the last bit of her relationship that she can save. And in that moment, because she leaves her daughter unattended, she loses the one thing that she had a grasp on. That child meant so much to her. And she was about to repeat the same thing that Maddie did. That I lost everything else. I lost every other piece of me. I'm gonna put what I got left into my child. And unfortunately, Serena, whew, that whole setup, that was just like, damn. Did you have to drive the nail in like that? Into my hand, Gloria. Into my motherfucking hand, Gloria. Why you gotta do me like that? Yo, you know what I mean? The only thing I love without pain ends up causing her the most pain in the end. And then we have this scene where Maddie sees herself so much in Seal about to just, leave her body that Maddie comes in and saves her. And a very deeply, intimate is like my favorite word discussing women in Brewster Place. But that's what it is. It was just a very intimate, encapsulating experience. When asked about hating Eugene, Maddie says she doesn't. Instead, she responds, maybe I just loves you too much. What is the line when you connect that quote between love and hate? What could Maddie mean by loving Seal too much? And how is Naylor using language to foreshadow the future of Seal's story? And I think, interestingly enough, is Maddie putting the last of what she got into Seal? Or maybe she saw Butch in Eugene. Or maybe she saw every other sniveling ass nigga in Eugene. Eugene couldn't get ahead of his own demons. And he unfortunately took all his trauma. You know who Eugene is like? NBA Youngboy. That's who that nigga. He probably muttered just like that nigga too. He got a Baton Rouge accent. Seal was his yaya, except for Seal wasn't stabbing nobody with knives in the hand. Stephanie is saying, I couldn't sympathize, you say, with Seal after she didn't know where he was coming from, and after briefly acknowledging all her pain and suffering, just welcomed him with open arms. I think it's very lofty for us to say that someone should run or abandon what they think they have from the outside looking in. But growing up on a street that has a wall at the end of the block that blocks out the light, that growing up, it's seeing all the you see people that have left Etta and came back. You see people that are invested in the church and where they stuck at. You see, whatever happened to Seal's own parents, right? Because she was raised by her grandmother, and her grandmother just says that her parents was ever worship and they abandoned the child, right? So what is informing Seal that running away is going to lead to a better life? I don't know that she necessarily had a setup that really informed her that leaving was a possibility. Um, Shalise is saying that both Maddie and Eva were surrogate mothers, or Ava literally gave her home, a place to settle down and raise her child. And Maddie was a mother figure for Seal her entire life, basically the moment they moved in. But I think this is a reoccurring theme in the Woman of Brewster place, how we fill in these holes in our lives, right? How the community of us really helps us in ways that society never even bothers to. No, it is. Damn, y'all ain't got no love for Seal. Seal left her life savings on the side of the road to chase after the garbage truck to come back and find her life savings gone. How tragic. I had a lot of sympathy for Seal. I felt really bad. I felt like she found herself without the language or the understanding of the possibilities that she was allowed to have more. I think she repeated the mistakes she saw the women of her household make. And in the end, she does flee and she does get away and she does have a rebirth. And so I think she gets there, but like, also, how old are these characters, right? I think, in 2020, we think of someone like Seal might be in her late 20s. Seal might have been 17, 18 at the time. Did they really even say her age in the book? Because Basil was 19 when he disappeared? Yes, Tanisha, her parents did. It's discussed in Maddie's chapter, right? Because when Maddie comes to the house, Ava says, she's asking where Basil's father is, and then Ava's like, well, Seal's parents ain't shit. They was like I think for some reason I read it like they was dope fiends, and they headed out, and they dipped off and they abandoned her. I thought Lucielia's. I think this is the thing. There is a reason why so many women have made choices that look very similar to Seal's. And for a character, if this book was written in taking place in like the 70s, right? For a character who was born in the late 1950s, the idea that they stay and they make it work and they become the housewife and they have the children and they support their man in whatever work he can get, because niggas really can't get jobs at this point. There's not really jobs open to the black folks, especially if you ain't got no college degree. That, she made a choice based on her there's always a wiser choice. But also, I think what Brewster plays highlights is that the wiser choice doesn't always save you. The wiser choice as a black woman is no guarantee for your success. Okay, maybe. Did she live in the house for 30 years and then lose it? So he would be in his mid 30s. Huh. See, now I might have to go back on my point D, but I still got love for Seal. I'm just gonna stand. I'm gonna stand 10 toes down with my love for Seal. I have compassion. Also, she didn't make a conscious choice to neglect her baby for her man. It was a terrible, heartbreaking accident from a small error in judgment. I personally, I wasn't implying that she neglected her child, but I do think there is some symbolism in like that. You know, what you think is just like, okay, I'm gonna let the baby play for herself for like 5 minutes, and I'm gonna just like I'm gonna do what I can do in this 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes might magically transform my life into something better. And you know, bad judgment. And she, you know, in trying to save her man, lost her child. And baby, that was sad. Okay, this live has gone on so long. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This is very true. A lot of us do hold this belief that we could save a man, and that men should be saved from themselves. So that's why I have some sympathy for her. Like I feel her. I feel her. All right. If you enjoyed this video, please thumbs up, heart it if you're on Facebook. Leave a comment, even if you're watching the replay. We love to hear your opinion, your discussion, your thoughts. Tune in next week. Morgan will be hosting the finale discussion for Women of Brewster Place. It was great reading this with y'all. Please pick up. Let me get into that nice little finish. Pull up a screenshot for y'all. Okay. You know, our nicely done syllabus. If you're an insider, these are available on your insider dashboard for download. Everyone else, you can purchase this syllabus for $7.99. We have Dr. Patrice Hill Collins, which is a huge deal for the Black feminist thought. The 4 chapters we have read of that book, she's joining us for our author chat. And so we have both syllabi, plural, available on sale for $4.99. And also the next upcoming general read is Such a Fun Age. And because it's a much lighter read, and we are encouraging people to read this with the young adults, late teenagers, because there's definitely, I'm listening to the book now, it's a little soap opera-y. All right, it's a little Real Houses of Atlanta-y. But if you got a kid 16 and up, we're definitely encouraging people to read this as a community with the use in their home. So it's on sale for $4.99 as well. Thank y'all for supporting. I love doing this with y'all. And I am out. Hope y'all enjoy. Bye.